Yes. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Prashant. Okay, Rakesh has also joined. I think we can get going now. Let's try and finish off as much as we can about the uh, Romanticist tradition, which spawned both the the French Enlightenment first, and the German Enlightenment later. Okay. So if you have to understand why there is a difference in the kind of philosophies uh, that emerged out of Germany and France, the difference between these two and the philosophy of the English philosophers, then the key to understanding this is the Romanticist movement. Okay, and yesterday we were discussing about the fact that there isn't one enlightenment. The first enlightenment is the enlightenment that happened in the Renaissance. Then I told you the second enlightenment is the French Enlightenment. And the third enlightenment is the German Enlightenment. And I also told you that the French and the German enlightenments display a pessimistic side. Now, I please understand that when we are using pessimism as a word here, this should be understood as uh, a philosophical pessimism. It's not pessimism like in everyday life. You see, some people are pessimists. They'll say nothing will go right with life. Okay. There's nothing great in life. Life is meaningless. All these kind of different statements you hear from people who are called pessimists. Okay, that is not the kind of pessimism that we are talking about here. We are talking about a philosophical pessimism. So, what is the philosophical pessimism? How is it different from the common pessimism? Philosophical pessimism is a reaction to what emerged from the first enlightenment. The first enlightenment, and yesterday we were talking about Peter Paul Rubens's paintings. Uh, Everything is in harmony. Okay, everything is in the correct place. Everything is what should we say, aesthetically beautiful. And it also led to humanism. And humanism, if you take it as a celebration of the abilities of the human being, then that is okay. Because you cannot deny the fact that human beings, I had talked to you about the resolutive compositive method. I had talked to you about Galileo's telescope and all those things. So, yeah, there is a great deal to celebrate. But this celebration went a little too far. It went a little too far in the sense that uh, people started believing in the man centricity of the universe, and people also started believing in the fact that they can control and manipulate nature. Okay, that is what they started believing in. They believed that the abilities of the human being were so great that the whole universe was at the disposal of the human being, which is an attitude we still have today, and I keep repeating this. Okay, we talk about human rights, but do we talk about plant rights? They are also life forms. We cut down trees. If it is inconvenient, you just cut down a tree without thinking that that is also a life form, and without thinking that it could adversely impact upon the what we should say, uh, without adversely impacting upon uh, uh, the environment. Okay, we look at other forms of life as pests. If you see too many street dogs, you want to kill them. Okay, too many street dogs, kill them. No problem. We, at one time, people, or rather the Nawabs and the Rajas of this country, took to what was called hunting of game animals. Initially, game animals were those which were fast moving. Okay, animals like the deer, the antelope, all these which can run very fast. So killing them was a challenge. So that is something, I'm sorry, that is a challenge that people took and started going on hunts. So that was a pastime to kill animals. Then they realized that what is this? We're just killing herbivores. Where is the bravery in killing a herbivore? Okay, so we should try and kill carnivores. We should try and kill carnivores. So people started killing carnivores. So much so that we hunted the Indian cheetah into extinction. It doesn't exist anymore, the Indian cheetah. The Indian cheetah is different from the African cheetah. Just as the Asiatic lion, which is only left in India in that little pocket called the Gir forest. Okay, we have hunted the lion also to near extinction. There are about 600 plus lions, Asiatic lions, left in our country. The tiger, mercifully, is in slightly larger numbers, but it is not entirely safe. It is not safe. And it's not just these animals. Our burgeoning population has led to cutting down of various forests. 50 years ago, there was something like 30% forest cover, 35% forest cover in India. Okay, and that is why India has such a wide species of animals. I don't know how many of you are actually interested in animals, but if you look at the kind of species of animals that are available in India, it is mind-boggling. It is absolutely mind-boggling. Okay, we have animals that are not found anywhere else, or we have variants, genetic variants of animals that are there elsewhere but are very different here. Like take the Indian rhinoceros, another endangered species. The Indian rhinoceros is so different from the white and the black rhinoceros that you find in Africa. And that is now an endangered species that is there only in the Kaziranga National Park. Okay, and elephants are becoming an endangered species everywhere because elephants rely on their memory. It's not uh, it's not for nothing that people say that you have the memory of an elephant. Elephants have fantastic memory. They know the routes, they know the migration paths. In the summers, they know where to go from where for water. And what has happened? We have cut off the forest and built villages, or we have cut off the forests and made it cultivable land. And we say when the elephants are coming into the, that is their path, the path that they take. And it's like you are walking on a road regularly, and one day you find that there's a building there instead of a road. That's what has happened to the elephants, not just here, but even in Africa. Okay, so what is the result of that? The result of that is that you have human animal conflict, and the Honorable Supreme Court of India has given a judgment that leave it to the Gram Panchayats to kill animals if they deem fit, if they are threatening humans or they are threatening human crops. What kind of a thing is that? A Gram Panchayat will just sit and decide, okay, the elephants are coming, so let us kill them. So this is the kind of belief system that the Enlightenment has produced. And it is against this that the philosophical pessimism of Romanticism comes. It's a philosophical pessimism not necessarily explained through philosophical tracts of writing. I told you yesterday, you can look at it in the works of even poets like William Wordsworth, Percy Bysshe Shelley, P.B. Shelley as he's called. Percy Bysshe Shelley went to take part, though he was an Englishman, he went to take part in a war in Greece, and he died at the age of 26. He died at the age of 26, and he was a romanticist. John Keats was a romanticist, but it was more of a personal kind of a thing, not a civilizational kind of a thing. So I don't usually quote John Keats. But William Wordsworth gave his approval initially to the French Revolution. He was pro-democracy, proper democracy, not the Lockean democracy, limited government, no. But he turned against the French Revolution when Robespierre and the Jacobins, they basically let loose what is today called the Reign of Terror, where the streets of Paris were overflowing with blood. And that is not an exaggeration, it was a reality. And the brutality of the French Revolution can be seen in the fact that even the king and the queen were not spared. People marched from Paris to the Palace of Versailles. It's written Versailles, Versailles. Versailles it is written, but it is pronounced Versailles. And on the way, they were passing the Bastille. Bastille is written Bastille, Bastille, but pronounced Bastille. So they, mobs went into the Bastille. They massacred the prison guards and let loose all the prisoners. Let loose all the prisoners who were there in Bastille, which was the biggest prison in France. They let loose all the prisoners. The women also were at the forefront of this march of people to Versailles. And there they went and shouted and said, "Give us bread, give us life." And the wife of King Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette, is written Marie. Marie Antoinette is Antoinette. Antoinette, it is pronounced. Okay. If it is a man, it'll be Antoine, Antoin. If it's a lady, it'll be Antoinette. So Marie Antoinette said, "We don't care." So what did they do? They dragged the king and the queen out of the palace. It was called the Palais de Royal, Palais. Palais is palace, the DE. The Royal Palace, Royal written Royale. The Versailles Palace was also called the Palais de Royal. And people were pulled out of not people, I'm sorry, the king and the queen were pulled out of the Palais de Royal, which was there in Versailles. They were taken to Paris and they were guillotined. People pronounce it as guillotine, Guillotine, but in French and in Spanish, LL is pronounced as ya. It's not pronounced as la. Okay. A place like Mallorca is not pronounced as Mallorca, but it is pronounced as Mallorca. Similarly, Versailles, because LL is there in that. Bastille, because LL is there in that. Okay, so similarly, this which everybody calls guillotine is actually guillotine, the pronunciation. Guillotine was where you had up at about 10, 12 feet above, you had a sharp knife blade in a frame, wooden frame. And then there was at the bottom another wooden frame where you had to put your neck. If your neck is in that, then what people would do is till then they would hold that guillotine, the knife blade. And once your neck is in place, they let go. And because of gravity, that comes down with great force. If you're a student of mathematics, I know Prashant is, you know what happens. Your impact becomes more powerful if there is velocity. So it gains velocity. So it used to make a clean break of the neck. which you cannot do with a knife. You see in films, somebody takes a sword and cuts off somebody's neck like that. No, the human neck doesn't get cut so easily. You need something like the guillotine to cut it properly. I mean, to separate it. Okay, you need great force, and that is an invention of the French during the French Revolution. And the king and the queen were guillotined like common people. Anybody, the entire royalty of, by royalty, I mean even the noblemen, the feudal lords, or even those who supported the king and the queen, all of them were guillotined. That was the French Revolution. And the French Revolution led to the establishment of the first Paris Commune. We'll talk about that when I do Marx with you. Okay, not now. And so Wordsworth was horrified by the violence, so he withdrew the support that he gave to the French Revolution. But other people embrace that philosophical pessimism. And like I said, you will find in the works of Theodore Gericault, who was a French painter, you find the best representations. But I also included the name of Joseph Mallord William Turner for a reason, and the reason will become apparent as we go ahead. I told you yesterday, Gericault, apart from being a painter, was a lithographer. Remember, it's either a smooth stone or metal on which you make colors, patterns, and imprint them on a cloth or something. That is called lithography. Okay. So I'm not going to go into the idea that it was not just Turner, there was also John Constable. I told you about William Wordsworth yesterday. Please remember, he describes nature and its beauty in the Tintern Abbey. And then he says, behind all that, he hears the still, sad music of humanity. It is a loss of humanity. It is a loss of finer feelings that he's bemoaning there. Okay. And in Germany, you see that the Baroque art, was something that came. I was talking to you about Peter Paul Rubens yesterday. Everything was in proportion. Everything was beautiful. There's sunlight. The paintings are bright. The architecture of buildings is wonderful. Things like the Taj Mahal. It's not Baroque, by the way, but I'm just saying, beautiful structures, symmetrical structures. This was replaced in Germany by the Rococo style of art and architecture. The Rococo style is also called the Gothic style. Yes, Prashant.
Sir, that mean romanticism is purely a pessimistic thing, sir.
Pessimism purely meaning, it will become obvious to you as I go ahead. It is pessimism in the sense that it doesn't believe anymore that the human the enlightenment belief that you can control, manipulate nature, it doesn't believe in that anymore. And it doesn't believe in the fact that capitalism is a solution to poverty. It doesn't believe in that. In that sense, it is a purely philosophical pessimism, but not about everything in life. Okay. It doesn't believe in man-centric universe. It doesn't believe in that. In fact, the industrial society that has been unleashed by the Industrial Revolution and all that. Please read a wonderful novel set in the 19th century. It's a novel by Emile Zola, Emile, Emile Zola, Zola. It was originally written in French, but it is also available in English. The name of the novel is Germinal, Germinal. Okay, Germinal shows you how degraded the lives of poor people became in the 19th century and the late 18th century and 19th century, how degraded they became, how bad the life was for the poor people. Okay, so that is philosophical pessimism. And it's a very graphic novel. By graphic, what I mean is that it is not something that just tells you a story. It tells you so many facts of how it was. You know, the life of the poor, the fact that people were working in coal mines for 19, 20 hours a day, sometimes for 2, 3 days in a stretch. People don't come out of the coal mine, and their living quarters were so small. The women had no privacy to change their clothes. The women had no privacy to change their clothes. So, what kind of a life is that? It was abased, debased completely. Okay, so that kind of pessimism, yes, it definitely is. It definitely is. And it'll become more clear. Now, if you look at the Rococo style of art and architecture, it's all very dark. You know, what hits you when you see the Gothic or Rococo style is not brightness, but darkness. Not just darkness, it's blackness. Even today, there is an art form in music, in rock music. It is called Gothic rock. Okay, Gothic rock, people dress up in black. Everybody wears only black. They blacken their faces also. Okay, so it's a rebellion now, not a pessimism, because rock music itself started as a rebellious culture, and Gothic rock is even more rebellious than ordinary rock. And the word Gothic comes from the tribes that were there in Germany, which were called the Gothic tribes. Ostrogoths, Visigoths, you know. So these are the two main tribes. There are some other tribes whose names I don't remember. So the Gothic thing is all very, very dark and black. The castles that were built in Rococo style are dark, dingy. There'll be one small lamp in a big hall. When you go inside, you can hardly see anything. I don't know if you've seen Amruta, what is it called? Amruta Palace? Yeah, there is a hotel near Secretariat in Hyderabad. I think it's called Amrita Palace. It is built along the lines, it's a almost an exact replication of the castle of Dusseldorf in Germany. And the architecture it uses is Rococo style. It uses Rococo style. Okay. And it is dark, this whole thing. Even the paintings are very, very dark. Though the French Enlightenment was pessimistic and found its way into art, due to the existence of the philosoph tradition, the rationalist way of thinking continued to prevail in philosophy in France. Therefore, apart from Rousseau, whom you can possibly, we'll come to that, you can possibly call a romanticist, Voltaire, Montesquieu, they are not pessimistic. And if you go and look at positivism, its belief in science, its belief in the ability of science to demystify everything in the world, is a French tradition in the 19th century under Auguste Comte. Okay, so positivism is think positively. That's what they were trying to say. So in philosophy, you do not find in the French system, I'm not talking about Germany here. In the French system, you do not find too many people, or you don't find anyone other than Rousseau who can be called a uh, romanticist thinker. But if you look at the German Enlightenment, you will find in the German Enlightenment both the literary and philosophical traditions drew heavily from pessimistic philosophy. Again, by pessimistic, I'm trying to tell you that man is not in control. That is the meaning of pessimism. Before I get here, let me discuss a couple of things so that it becomes clear for you. Let me take a couple of works of Gericault. Okay, Gericault was a romanticist and he wanted to prove that people were not in control of things. So what did Gericault do? Gericault wanted to change the idea of the aesthetic. The aesthetic is supposed to be the study of beauty. Okay? Aesthetic, aesthetic. Some people say it should be pronounced aesthetic, possibly right, but I prefer aesthetic, even if it is wrong. Uh, Aesthetic is the study of beauty. Now, Gericault wanted to change that. So, what does he do? His greatest painting is called the Raft of the Medusa. Medusa is in English. In English, uh, in French, it is Meduse, Meduse. But I'm sure you've heard of Medusa, the woman who had snakes for hair. Okay, so the raft was named Meduse, and the ship was named Meduse. And when a storm comes in the sea, the captain of the ship abandons it and goes away in a boat. They used to have those small dinghy boats in which they can go away. So the captain abandons the ship and goes away. So what happens? The ship is broken to pieces by the power of the storm. It is completely broken to pieces. And because it is broken to pieces, people are holding desperately to wooden rafts. Ships in those days were made of wood. So you should see the expressions of fear on the faces of the people there. They show complete fear on their faces. Okay. So what was Gericault trying to prove through this painting? He was trying to prove that in the face of the wrath of nature, human beings have no hope. They are helpless. So you can't conquer this world and say, I can manipulate nature. As long as nature is being benign, as long as it is being kind, then you can say all these things. But the moment when it becomes something else, no, you are completely at the mercy of the nature. Okay. So, and he also painted other shipwrecks where passengers are passengers of the ship are in various state of distress. But he had another morbid fascination. It started with a painting called The Study of the Head of a Youth. Okay. So he basically painted only a profile. Okay. The side of the youth's head. What kind of a thing is that to paint? And that person whom he painted is also not very good looking. He just called it the study of the head of the youth and painted the profile from the neck to the top of the head. But after that, he went ahead. What did he do? He went and sat in mortuaries. You know what are mortuaries, right? Where they keep dead bodies. He sat there, put lamps at certain distances, and then decided to show how that dead body looks with shades of light falling and shades of darkness. So he painted dead bodies. That is how he wanted to change the aesthetics. Okay, I can go on. I love talking about Gericault, but I won't. Okay, and then he also painted another one, another particular um, painting, which is called Les Monomane, L-E-S, pronounced les. The in plural is les. Monomane is the insane. So this was the portrait of the insane people. He went into an insane asylum and painted how the insane people are. People who have no control over themselves. So the themes that he chose, this is the philosophical pessimism. Okay, to show how fragile human beings are. Human beings are extremely fragile. So this is what Gericault did. And this influence of Gericault went to England, to Turner. The last minute, will you be coming for class tomorrow? Or are you
Yes, sir.
celebrating?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll finish Romanticism and this thing tomorrow. Okay, I don't want to waste your time today. Enjoy yourself. Happy Bogi. Tomorrow, one class. Enjoy yourself. Okay,
Thank you, sir. Same to you.
yeah, right.